Hi, my name is Jake, and I am a bookish drummer. So for this Stephen King video, I will be doing a dedicated book review for everyone's all-time favorite Stephen King book. I'm joking, of course, but I'm doing it for Cycle of the Werewolf, which, I wouldn't say a lot of people hate this book. I wouldn't say a lot of people love this book. Honestly, I don't know if a lot of constant readers have actually read this book because I would say it's one of his most unread books, his least popular books. Which is that fair? Like, should more people read this? I think if you're a constant reader, you should probably check out all of his books. But this one, it's a very quick read, as you can see. And most of this book, honestly, is taken up by either blank pages or illustrations. So, for example, like you've got a blank page there, and for every, like this is the structure of the book. Like every chapter is a new month. So like that's doesn't take you but 2 seconds. I'm going to try to show you all some illustrations that aren't like super, you know, spoilery, but like, and then every month gets its own 2-page illustration. So a lot of this book, it's 128 pages, but like half of this book is like blank pages and illustrations. So it takes you about an hour to read this, tops. And if you don't own this book physically, there's actually an audiobook on YouTube for free that like someone does the narration and they have all of the pictures like on the screen as it's going along. So like you could just listen to that. So there's that. I don't think it's, just check it out. Just check it out. But anyway, what do I think of this Stephen King novella or short story, whatever you want to call it, illustrated novel? It's good. End of video. No, I give it 3 stars. It's honestly one of those books that I prefer the movie to, and Stephen King has a few of those. Some of them are, popular opinion, unpopular opinion. Like, I love the Shining movie. A lot of people, they love the book more, but I love the movie more. Shawshank Redemption, I think a lot of people might agree that the movie is at least as good, if not better. So sometimes Stephen King movies can actually improve on the source material. And I love the movie to this. I watched it growing up. It's actually not called Cycle of the Werewolf. It's called Silver Bullet. And it's really good, underrated horror movie from like 1985. But anyway, enough about, all of that. I'm going to actually review the book now. It's going to be a fairly short review. I don't have a lot to say about this book. But what I have to say, I'm going to say it. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, Cycle of the Werewolf, I believe it's published in 1983. Very short, 128 pages. Half of this is text, half of this is kind of illustrations. The illustrations are probably my favorite part of the book, and they're really gruesome. I'm not, I can show a couple of them. Like, this is from the first chapter, so it's not like super spoilery, but obviously there's a werewolf. No shit. But some of these later ones, like, it's a spoiler, so it shows you exactly what's happening in the book. So I don't want to say anything other than that. It's pretty good, and the structure, like I mentioned, basically each chapter is its own month. So obviously you're starting in January, and each one you get kind of an illustration. So it's an interesting structure. I like the story. But it's one of those rare, very rare instances in Stephen King's catalog where I wished it was longer. Now, I know that's going to sound hypocritical because there's so many books. Even just the Tommyknockers, which I just reviewed last week. That one is too long. It should have been edited down a lot. And a lot of his books, I feel like, should have been heavily edited. It, The Stand, the Tommyknockers. You can go on and on, but there's a lot of Stephen King, but not all of them, but there's a lot of longer Stephen King books that I feel are too long this one is too short. Like, it's 128 pages, most of it's illustrations. I wanted more. Like, I wanted more from the story. I wish this could have either been fleshed out into, one of Stephen King's like longer novellas, or maybe he even could have done this as like a short Richard Bachman novel. I think that could have been really cool. But for what we get, I was just left wanting more in a bad way. Like, sometimes it's good to want to leave the reader wanting more, but in this instance, I wanted more and I didn't like it. Overall, I do enjoy the experience, but it's a 3-star book. I like the story. I like some of the characters. I just wanted it to be like a full fleshed out story. And like I mentioned, I actually prefer the movie, which came out a couple years after this in 1985, called Silver Bullet. Now, I don't remember all of the actors in it, but there's a character in the book who is an uncle to kind of, I would say, the main character, who is actually a little boy, or I guess 12-year-old boy named Marty, who happens to be in a wheelchair. So his uncle is played by none other than Gary Busey. Now, I know, nowadays Gary Busey can get a lot of flack or whatever, but he did a really good job in this role as kind of like this uncle who really loves his nephew and he's always there for him, but the wife and the mother, don't get along with the uncle, and he's kind of a drunk and, whatever. But he's a really good character, and Gary Busey does a great job. I love this movie. Is it perfect? No, but it's a lot of nostalgia for me because I grew up watching a lot of horror movies. So I actually prefer the movie, and it's fairly faithful to the book. Now, the book isn't very long, so it's not really a lot to adapt in the first place, but I think they did a bang-up job, and they actually... the movie made me like the characters more. So I think it overall did a better job than the actual book. Now, I'm not going to spoil like what happens in this book, but you can kind of tell like the structure of the book. It's going January, February, March, all the way through. And it's about a werewolf killing people in this town, basically like once a month, like every time there's a full moon. And Stephen King, in the acknowledgments or in the afterword, definitely mentions that he took some liberties with the full moon cycle. Like, he has chapters like specifically like on Valentine's Day or the 4th of July, even though it might not make sense scientifically, but he did that just for story purposes. So that's kind of the structure of the book, and I think it's an interesting structure. I just wished it was just more, because some of these chapters are very short. Like, January is like 2.5 pages. February's 2.5 pages. Like, I think it would have worked better if each thing kind of got like at least 10 pages. Because some of these chapters, especially towards the end of the book with the main character of Marty, are a little longer. So I just wish we would have gotten more story. And a lot of these chapters are basically just little vignettes of people in the town getting killed by the werewolf, which are great, but I just wished it was a bit more. And I will say one of the best parts about this book is a twist. There's a good twist in here, and I'm not going to even spoil like what that twist is, but very well done, and I might even like it a bit more in the movie. But yeah, very good. I do enjoy kind of the main character of Marty, a kid in a wheelchair, and his uncle trying to help him out. Very cool. And kind of like vampires, I did a video last week about my opinion on vampires. I generally don't like them. Not really necessarily a big werewolf guy either. So, and I'm not even sure. Well, actually, no, I definitely have. What am I talking about? When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. That's got to be the best werewolf book of all time. I don't know if I've read any others that I can think of. Maybe there's one. I don't remember, but that one is obviously the best. That's one of my favorite horror stories of all time. Maybe this one's a close second, just because I haven't really read that much werewolf stuff. I've read a bunch of vampire stuff, even though I don't necessarily like them. I don't love them. But I haven't really read a lot of werewolf stuff. So comment down below if there's any other werewolf books or novels or stories that I should check out. Because really, When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy is amazing. And it is werewolf stuff, but it's also just a lot more than that. Be prepared. But Cycle of the Werewolf is basically just werewolves. or one werewolf. And it's pretty good. It's 3 stars. Not anything to run home about, but I liked it. That's about as much as I can say. And I will say, just as a quick side note, that sometimes when I go back to reread Stephen King books, I can remember some aspects of the story, but a lot of this, like I mentioned, is like little vignettes, and most of these are kind of forgettable. Like I remember obviously the werewolf killing people, but like who he kills specifically, yeah, I kind of just, it's forgettable. The main bits that I remember are the twist and Marty himself, the ending, which is a good ending, which I think is done brilliantly in the movie. Overall, a lot of this is forgettable. So every time I go back to reread it, I think this is probably like the 3rd time I've read it, I kind of forget a lot of it. So yeah, that's ultimately kind of forgettable, but it's pretty good. It's good. It's 3 stars. All right, so that's my quick little review for Cycle of the Werewolf. Not really one of my favorite Sting combo character of Stephen King and Sting. The hell would that look like? But anyway, not one of my favorite Stephen King books, but not the worst one either. Like, this is definitely not bottom tier, like bottom tier, but it's 3 stars. It's not one of my favorites. It's fine. If you're a constant reader, go check it out. It'll take you about an hour to read it, if that. So check it out. Would I recommend this to non-Stephen King fans? Not really. It kind of just is what it is. But what I want to know is if you agree or disagree with my assessment here. Or do you completely disagree with me and think that this is like the best Stephen King has to offer? Or do you agree with me and think that it's pretty good? Or do you disagree with me and think it's one of the worst things ever written? Like one of the worst werewolf stories? I don't really see a lot of people attacking this book. But again, I don't really see a lot of people absolutely praising it either. It's kind of just middling. It's a middling book. It's in the middle. Middle. But anyway, just comment down below your thoughts and opinions on the book. Have you read it? What did you guys think of it? All that nonsense. Do your thing. And then what's up next for the channel for Stephen King? There's obviously a ton of other books that I can review. I do think that me and Stacy will sometime, I can't promise when, but sometime in November, we're going to go check out the new we've already watched the Long Walk movie. I'm talking about the new Running Man movie, which should be coming out in theaters in November. I still have to figure out the release date for that. Comment down below if you already know that. But I think at some point we're going to be going to the movies to watch that. We did have fun going to see the Long Walk. Now we're going to go see the Running Man, which hopefully is better than the 80s version with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I remember that one being very cheesy. I know it has its fans. I know Josephina, if you're watching, I know you love that movie, but I don't remember it being that good. So that'll be fun. I'm sure there's a top 10 list or something that I can come up with Stephen King for. Comment down below what other King videos you want to see me tackle next on the channel. Comment down below. Just, how are you doing? How are you feeling right now? But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Stay subscribed for more content. I try to post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, especially Friday for Stephen King Friday. Also, Booker Charmer Discord down below, where we've always got tons of buddy reads and read-alongs happening all the damn time, including for the Stephen King Book Club for the month of November. We're going to be checking out Roadwork. That was very aggressive, but we're going to try to, well, not try. We're going to read or reread Roadwork. I've read this book twice, maybe 3 times. It's fantastic, at least in my opinion. It'll be a lot of fun to get people who haven't read this book, but they're going to read it for the first time, including Ian. Very interested to see what Ian thinks of this book. I think he's either going to love this book or he's going to hate it. I don't think there's a lot of in between for Ian with this book specifically. So it'll be fun to see which way the pendulum swings for Ian. I'm hoping he loves it as much as me and Josephina and Pat Savab, but we'll see. A lot of people don't like this book, but it'll be a lot of fun. And we're checking it out in November. Also, got Patreon link down below if you want to go support me there for as little as $1 a month, and Amazon wishlist if you'd like to buy me a book. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. Fantastic